Hey, this is Mr. Alexander, and I want to show you how to calculate the time value of work. And what I mean by that is I want to be able to answer the question, how much money will a particular job make you for your entire working career? So for instance, I'm a high school math teacher, and to be a high school math teacher, it takes me a bachelor's degree or 4 years of education in order to get my credential to be a math teacher. Now, on average, math teachers across the United States make upwards of about $50,000 per year. And in order to get my 4-year degree, nowadays, that costs somewhere around 60 grand. So the question is it worth it? Is it worth paying that amount of money to go get a 4-year degree to be making $50,000 per year? Well, in order to answer that, it's like, okay, well, what year will you start working? Like, how old are you going to be when you start working? Well, if it takes me 4 years to get my education, and I'm 18 when I get out of college, or when I get out of high school, well, that's going to take me to the age of 22 that I start working as a high school math teacher. And if it takes you 5 years to get your bachelor's degree, then it's 23. Most people retire at the age of 65. So you're not working that many years if you look at this, 22 to 65. So in that time, how much money have you really made? Well, it depends, because you're not going to make $50,000 a year forever. You're going to get raises while you're working. And let's just assume, without any other information, that the raise rate is 3% per year. That's what it's been historically. I don't know if that's true anymore. You'd have to look it up. But just for the purposes of this exercise, let's assume it's 3%. And historically, inflation goes up by about 2% per year. And inflation is the devaluation of money. So that essentially means that even though you're getting raises of $3% per year, your money is also devaluing 2% per year. So assuming a constant rate of 3% raises per year and a constant inflation rate of 2% per year, the cumulative wages for this career, if I worked from the age of 22 to the age of 65, is how many dollars? Well, I want to show you how to figure that out using Microsoft Excel. So I'm going to open up Microsoft Excel here. And I've already made some of this stuff, and I'm going to help you build this spreadsheet so that you can use it for other jobs as well. But for now, we'll just say it's a high school math teacher. Just make that a little bit bigger. And we said that the wage is right around $50,000 per year. And you have to have 4 years of education, 5 if it's going to take you 5 years to get your bachelor's degree. We said the raise rate was 3%, and that was just a guess. I don't know what it actually is, but that's just a guess. And the inflation rate is 2%. Now, what we have here is what's called the net interest rate. That's the raise rate minus the inflation rate. And that's simply equal sign B4 minus B5. It's just the raise rate minus the inflation rate. So on average, I'd expect to make about 1% per year, accounting for my raises and the inflation. So here, the age that I'm going to start working, well, it's going to be 18 plus whatever number I typed right here. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to set up a spreadsheet where you can just edit these yellow cells, and all the stuff underneath here will automatically update. So the idea here is you only type into the yellow cells, and all the stuff down here will automatically update and give us our answer. So if I've done this right, the age that I start working is the age of 22. So when I hit enter, it says 22. Now I'm going to go ahead and center that. And I want this to go up by 1 every single year. So I'm going to say equals, I'm going to click on this cell and do +1. So A8 plus 1. And I'm going to center that as well. Now I can just drag this down as long as I want. So when I take the corner of this cell, I see a little cross right here. I'm going to hold down my cursor, and I'm just going to drag this down a whole bunch. I'm going to let it go all the way up to 70. But you could drag it even further. Now my wages are going to be, I'm going to say equal to this cell right here, whatever the wage is right there. And I'm going to center that. Now that's just the wages that I'd expect at age 22. What about the next year? Well, I said it should go up by 1%, accounting for the raise rate and the inflation rate. So now I'm going to say equals, I'm going to click on the cell above, which is B8, and I'm going to do times 1 plus the inflation rate. So what's going to happen here is it's going to increase the 50,000 by 1%. So 10% of 50,000 is 5,000, so 1% would be 500. If I've done this correctly, it should go up by $500. One last thing we need to do here, I want to lock this cell. When I drag this thing down, I want it to stay at C5. And the way you lock a cell is you put a $sign in front of the C and a $sign in front of the 5, so that when I drag this thing down, it's going to lock C5. It's not going to try and do C6, C7, or anything like that. And I can see that I've been successful. It's gone up by $500. I just want to do that forever. So I want it to go up 1% every year. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this thing down all the way down to the bottom. You can see by the end, I'm making $80,000 as a math teacher. Now, that might sound like a lot, because it is, in today's dollars. But by the time I reach the age of 70, that's actually not a lot of money because of inflation. So 50 years down the line, $80,000 is not the same $80,000 we're talking about today. That's a hard concept for people to understand because it's such a long period of time. But it's true. Like $50,000 today would have seemed like a lot of money to somebody who was a math teacher in the 1970s. Last thing we need to do here is talk about the cumulative wages. And the cumulative wages is just how much money am I going to make as a total over time. And to do that, I'm just going to say equals, and I'm going to click on that 50,000 there and set enter. I'm going to center it. Well, I made another $50,000 the next year. So I'm going to say equals, I'm going to click on this first cumulative wage, I'm going to say plus the $5,500 I made the next year, and hit enter. So after 2 years, I've made just over $100,000. Now I should, because I made this a formula, I should just be able to drag this down. So the next time I've made another 50,000, and then I've made another 50,000, and so on. I'm going to scroll this all the way down to the bottom of my sheet. What I really want to know is how much money have I made by the time I've retired, by the age of 65. And it looks like I've made about $2.7 million cumulatively by the time I retire. This is the time value of money, or the time value of work. This is how much my job is worth to me. So I'm going to take that number, 2.7 million, and I'm going to type it over here. 2,746,588. So, when accounting for the cost of education, the total value of this career is this $2,700,000 minus the $60,000. So I'm just going to pull up a calculator here. $2,746,588 minus the $60,000 it cost me to get the bachelor's degree. I've made about $2.68658 million. $2,686,000. So if somebody was going to ask me how much it's going to pay me in the long run to be a math teacher, I'd say my best guess is about $2.6 million. That's how much I'd make over a lifetime. But that number doesn't mean much unless you have something to compare it to, which is why you should look at a number of jobs and a number of different required education to figure out which one's going to make you the most money in the long run. But that's the basic idea. You can use this spreadsheet over and over again. If you've done it correctly the way that I've done it, all you should need to do is change the numbers in this yellow cell. So for instance, if I for some reason figured out that math teachers only made $40,000 per year on average, I could just change this to $40,000, go down to age 65, and now, look, I've only made $2.2 million instead of $2.7. So that little change made a $500,000 difference. Or what if for some reason I decided that I was going to party in college and it's going to take me 6 years to graduate? Now all of a sudden I'm starting at age 24, and at age 65 I've only made less than $2.1 million. So all these factors can change, but the important thing is if you've linked all these cells the way you're supposed to, all you should have to do is change these 4 cells and the career title, and Excel will do the rest of the math for you. Alright, that's all. Thank you for watching. Good luck. We'll see you next time.